In just 5 short years, what started as a championship right before our eyes has become an inspiration. 9 of the 72 players who started the week at the Augusta National Women's Amateur had once competed at Augusta National as children in the Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals. Those kids and their cohort are now women, and their promise has been stunningly realized. Lottie Woad never competed in the Drive, Chip, and Putt Finals, but her talent is undeniable. A 20-year-old sophomore at Florida State, she was recruited to Tallahassee, mostly sight unseen, primarily on the basis of the internet videos she posted from her home in England. As the sun rose on the final round, Woad held the lead with a tight pack nipping at her heels. On the fringe of that group, 19-year-old USC freshman Bailey Shoemaker. She had once been one of those DCP kids, but now was a young woman on a tear and in the midst of doing something remarkable. Starting near an hour in front of the final pair and 4 strokes behind the lead, she played near flawless golf. 3 hours and 55 minutes later, she not only recorded a final round record 66, but became the first and only player in the 5-year history of this event to play a round at Augusta National without a bogey. For a long time, it was good enough for the lead. At first, 2 strokes, but Woad chipped away. And then, like Wall and Palmer and O'Meara before her, did something historic as she birdied the final 2 holes at Augusta to win a coveted title at one of golf's most special places. Somewhere, perhaps right here, where they're getting ready for the Drive, Chip, and Putt Finals, girls and boys were no doubt watching. And so, this is how it works. What you see really is what you can become. And what you can become, as we saw Saturday, can be something truly special. For those wondering, this is exactly how you define fantasy sports.
Look at this, made putt. How about holding this 30-footer?
The Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals is 80 boys and girls from across the country who've made it here for the experience of their young lifetimes. This year's competition, again, featured a collection of staggering and precocious talent and one unforgettable story. 13-year-old Dixie Mae Crane has spent most of her life trying to get to the DCP Finals. She was 6 when she started. Finally, this year, she made it, but it was bittersweet.
I was just thinking about something that calms me down, happy place, like being at home with my mom. Sorry.
But for the last 9 months, that happy place has been only a memory.
Hi, Mom.
Good morning.
Good afternoon to you.
Dixie's mom, Sherry, is in the Navy and stationed 8,000 miles away. On Saturday night, she sent a message for her daughter at the DCP welcome reception, wishing her luck. But there was a twist.
You can tell from that video how much Mom wishes she could be here, right? Guess what? She is. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Chief Petty Officer Sherry Crane, who's here to enjoy this weekend Dixie Mae.
PGA of America CEO Seth Waugh calls the Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals the happiest day in golf. The night before wasn't bad either. 10 years in now, the face has changed, but the emotions are all over the map and exactly the same. This remains a day of pride and joy, the best that golf is today, and a window into the best it can be in the future. If it feels like the weight of the world is perched on your shoulders, this day at least the answer is replacement therapy. Because when your life is so much about leaving the people you love behind, Wednesday was all about bringing them with you. First played in 1960 and won by Sam Snead, the par 3 winner has famously never gone on to win the Masters. But hard to believe anyone Wednesday was caring about that. This is a day surrendered to joy. Everyone has their own reason.
If that doesn't give you a lump in your throat.
Last year, Gary Woodland was diagnosed with a benign lesion on his brain, a situation that threatened his life. But 7 months after surgery, he is back in Augusta. And Wednesday, a ray of sunshine. The tournament's 108th hole-in-one. It's a particularly special week for Camilo Villegas as well. He hasn't played in the Masters in 9 years.
The first text I got when I won in Bermuda last year was my wife saying Mateo's going to be on the par 3 at Augusta.
Missing is Mateo's sister Mia, who would have been 5½. But she passed away from cancer almost 4 years ago.
You just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other, so I don't think it's bittersweet. We lost Mia, but we had all the support, and that's not the case with many of the parents and kids that are going through the same thing.
Maybe she is here looking down.
Oh, I guarantee you she is.
Mia was treated at the Nicholas Children's Hospital, and who better than the hospital's namesake to understand the power of this day and family. The Golden Bear said it was his greatest moment at Augusta National, and he's won 6 green jackets. Look at that reaction and tell me you could possibly believe otherwise. This year, Ricky Fowler took the crystal, but it's hard to think everyone didn't win, because golf is a game. With all that's at stake, sometimes that might be easy to forget. Wednesday, it was impossible not to remember. At the Masters on Thursday, the reality, bright skies, made a mockery of the outlook. Who knows, maybe not even a supreme power would dare rain on the way this day traditionally starts and the beloved people who come to usher it in.
The 2024 Masters is officially underway.
Thursday at the Masters is like the first day of baseball season. Everyone is in first place, but it's also like a prize fight. How do you react at that first punch? Some are felled by it, but others thrive on it, to activate. That had never seemed to be the case for Bryson DeChambeau. Thursday, he bettered his first-round Masters scoring average by nearly 8 strokes. He closed birdieing 5 of the last 6, his 65, his lowest round ever in any major championship. Tiger Woods looked good.
Birdie for Woods.
But the 2.5-hour weather delay conspired to present him with what might be his biggest challenge, a Friday of 23 holes. Golf is hard for anyone, but for one of the greatest of all time, maybe the hardest part these days isn't about the shots he plays, but walking the distance so he can play them. Meanwhile, you might think the world's #1 ranked player could be a bit preoccupied. His wife expecting the couple's first child any day now. But the 2022 champion ho-hummed his way to a bogey-free 66, which put him 1 off the lead. Another solid step in a torrid stretch of golf for Scottie Scheffler. Regardless that the first round isn't finished, Thursday at the Masters was about what it always is, golf's Hippocratic oath. First, do no harm.
And here is Højgaard. A 3 at the 7th.
The list of those in the hunt is long, but the list of those on the other end is more significant. Dreams easily dissolve on a careless or imprecise first day. For the rest, the poet had it about right. There are miles to go before I sleep. So Thursday, the first careful steps to a life-defining experience. It was a day when the biggest battle was often against a ghost, an opponent you couldn't see, but you could absolutely feel.
This wind is all over the place.
Solid winds at 15 to 20 with gusts of 40 miles an hour meant anyone wanting to put themselves in position for the weekend would have their hands full.
These are some of the strongest wind gusts we have seen this afternoon.
How challenging were the winds? At one point, the field was some 200 strokes higher than it was the day before, which made tracking down the leaders, as consistent as they were, a hard ask. Max Homa played 23 holes in 2 under par. It felt like a course record.
Quite the whirlwind, for lack of a better pun.
At times, Bryson DeChambeau conjured both Paul Bunyan and Houdini. That when he wasn't doing what he normally does.
And that ball was punished.
And of course, Scottie Scheffler, the world's #1 ranked player, the 2022 champion, was just Scottie Scheffler.
So easy for him now, the way he plays.
And what to make of Tiger Woods? Once again, it was impossible to take your eyes off of him.
And Tiger in for birdie.
As if he didn't have enough records around here, he added one more. 24 consecutive cuts made now. To do it, the 5-time Masters champion with admitted mobility problems had to play 23 holes on Friday. Every one of them seemingly wrapped in a warm embrace and a blanket of familiar roars. Friday at the Masters was a day to survive. Some, surprisingly, didn't. The weekend's forecast is kinder. The winds might subside, but the pressure will rise. Buckle your seatbelt. We are now on final approach. After the atmospheric thrill ride that was Friday, the survivors, and that word feeling like more than just a piece of literary license, must have felt like Mother Nature owed them one. It was perhaps a comment on the extreme turbulence of yesterday that merely windy felt like a reprieve. Ludwig Oberg seemed unconcerned about the weather. He stood alone on Friday as the only one in the 89-player field to post a score in the 60s. Precedent doesn't seem to concern him either. It's been 45 years since a first-timer has won the Masters.
There's your champion.
Somebody, though, must have neglected to put that note in the 24-year-old Swede's locker. Not long ago, Colin Morikawa was that precocious talent who broke down the major championship door at an age which raised eyebrows. He's never missed the cut here and has top 10s in his last 2 appearances. Both players, along with Max Homa, are looking up at the 2022 champion, world #1 Scottie Scheffler. All of them now down to a point where the prospect of what might be is very real. Who among them sleeps well tonight? They know the pulse will quicken sometime after breakfast on Sunday. That's, of course, if they feel like they can put anything on their plate. Everything and everyone has a story. A handful of them came together this week to form a sweet collage of determination and skill, history and emotion. With all its twists and turns, whose story could be more compelling than Tiger Woods? He made a record 24th consecutive cut here this week. But in the end, the 5-time champion, who's made a career of steamrolling the competition, couldn't take down the one opponent who's yet to lose. Time. By Sunday, though, our attention had narrowed to where it always does.
All kinds of stories brewing here.
There was Max Homa, his childhood friend on the bag. Twice he'd lost his PGA Tour card before finding his way back. At one point this week, he went 33 holes without a birdie, but he hung in, grinded, and found himself in the story's midst. There with him, a 24-year-old Swedish prodigy playing in his first major championship. The relaxed brilliance of Ludvig Åberg was stunning. He seemed without a care as he tried to become the first man in 45 years to win a green jacket the first time he tried. Worth remembering, it wasn't long ago the game's last precocious ingenue was Colin Morikawa. A month after graduating college, he won on tour. A year later, at just 23, he won a major. But when you're in pursuit of the world's #1 player, a man who hasn't had an over-par round in more than 7 months, job one is less about catching up and more about not falling back. All three chasers, though, carded critically timed double bogeys, leaving the 2022 champion some breathing room down the stretch. Of course, Scheffler had his own story to tell. With 2 wins and a second-place finish in his last 3 starts, he has become the object of his peers' awe. Control of his golf ball so complete, it often seems to be on a string.
Oh, yes. Come on now. That might be the shot of the tournament.
He arrived this week and announced that no matter what his position on the leaderboard, no matter when, he would rush back home if his very pregnant wife went into labor. But it was a chapter in his tale that never came to pass. Instead, he becomes the 4th youngest man to win multiple Masters. The others? Woods, Nicklaus, and Ballesteros. A pretty good way to punctuate a memorable story. You know what they say after all. Clothes make the man. This day at least, once again, they certainly do.